Which is better, the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G or the Samsung Galaxy A72? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Now, the Galaxy A73 5G was recently launched in April of 2022, and the Galaxy A72, which is the predecessor to this device, was launched about a year prior. Now, the A72 on its own is a really good device, but it's really exciting to see a variety of different improvements that have made their way over to the A73 5G. I'm looking forward to showing you all those various differences throughout this video. Now, the biggest difference, which you can probably tell already from the names of these phones, is that with the Galaxy A73 5G, we do indeed get 5G connectivity. So with the A72, this device is limited at just 4G LTE. Now at this point in 2022, you can definitely still get by without having 5G connectivity with your device. But at the same time, if you are going to be going out and buying a brand new device, then you might as well get a phone that is compatible with your carrier's latest and greatest network. Now with the Galaxy A73 5G, we do have the same size display at 6.7 inches as with the Galaxy A72. So you can see side by side here, the displays are pretty much identical in size. Now these displays also feature Corning Gorilla Glass 5 on the outsides, making them extra durable. Now beyond that though, there are some differences with the actual display technology that we are getting here. The first thing is, with the A73 5G, we have a Super AMOLED Plus display running at 120 Hz, compared to a regular Super AMOLED display with the A72 running at 90 Hz. Now, thankfully, with both of these devices, we are getting faster and more premium refresh rates with these displays at both 120 Hz and 90 Hz compared to more traditional smartphones that have had 60 Hz displays for a long time. In fact, it wasn't too long ago that getting a phone with a faster refresh rate was limited to devices that were at the highest end, such as Samsung's S series. So it is cool to see that A-series phones from Samsung are getting faster and faster refresh rates. Now, with those higher refresh rates, you're just getting a much smoother experience when navigating around the operating system. So it's not really a huge game changer, but at the same time, it does make the phone look and perform a lot more premium. Now, by having Super AMOLED with these devices, we are getting really good viewing angles and of course, much brighter displays and more accurate colors. Now, both phones do feature 1080p displays. And as far as the PPI goes, they're nearly identical, with 393 as the PPI for the Galaxy A73 5G compared to 394 as the PPI for the A72. And then both phones do feature 20:9 aspect ratios, giving these displays a more narrow but taller form factor, which especially makes them ideal for browsing social media. Now, the screen-to-body ratios are different, with the A73 5G having an 87% screen-to-body ratio compared to the Galaxy A72, which has an 84.4% screen-to-body ratio. And looking at these devices head-on, you can definitely see here that we do indeed have thicker bezels with the A72 compared to the A73 5G. Now, both phones do feature slightly thicker bottom bezels, but you can see on all the other sides, the bezels are relatively thin. Nonetheless, though, we are getting smaller bezels in general with the A73 5G. Now, both devices do feature hole punches for the front-facing cameras, and both of these cameras are 32 megapixels. You can probably tell, though, that with the A73 5G, the hole punch for the front camera is slightly larger than what we're getting here with the A72. Now, these devices are offered in multiple storage configurations. You can get them in either 128 gigabytes or 256 gigabytes. Now, in addition to that, you can also pair up these phones with microSD cards so that you can offload photos and videos, for example. So it's definitely nice that we are getting a lot of storage out of the box. And then, of course, it is great that we have the ability to further expand that storage. Now, neither of these two phones have wireless charging, which is a bit unfortunate. But thankfully, both devices do feature in-display fingerprint sensors. So we'll try this out first with the Galaxy A73 5G. There we go, nice and quick. And then we'll try it out with the Galaxy A72. And there we go, that works very well too. Now, from my extended experience with both of these devices, it does seem like the fingerprint sensor is a lot better though with the A73 5G compared to the A72, but at the same time, I am glad that at least both phones do have the fingerprint sensors built into the displays. That technology is definitely very effective, as you could tell from the test I just did, but in addition to that, it's also nice not having a fingerprint sensor anywhere else on these devices, and it definitely gives the phones a more seamless design. Now, in addition to that, both of these phones do support Face Unlock, so it is nice that we have multiple methods for getting into them. Now, taking a look at the cameras on the back of these devices, there are some similarities, but there are also quite a few differences. Now, with both phones, we do have quad camera setups, but the actual cameras that we're getting here are a little bit different. So with the Galaxy A73 5G, we have a 108 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera that can capture images at up to 123 degrees, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode, and a 5 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. And then with the Galaxy A72, we have a 64 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera that's also 123 degrees. We have an 8 megapixel telephoto camera that gives us 3x optical zoom, and we have a 5 megapixel macro camera. Now the big difference is that the telephoto camera with the A72 doubles as a depth sensing camera, whereas there is no telephoto camera to be found at all with the A73 5G. So in that sense, this phone is a little bit of a downgrade. But on the other hand, the main camera with this device does have a higher megapixel count. Now here's how things look with the main cameras on both devices. And then from here, with the Galaxy A72, we can use that 3x optical zoom, as you can see right there. So that does work really well, definitely a really nice feature to have, and I wish we had that with the A73 5G. But with both devices, we can then switch over to the ultra wide angle cameras, so we can fit a lot more content into the frame here. And then from there, we can head over to the More tab to access the macro cameras. So we'll go there, and you can see there's the macro cameras. And then with the macro cameras, we can get very close up and have things be in really good detail. So definitely a very nice feature as well. And then we can head over to portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds, and we can flip around to the front facing cameras and do the same thing. So there's me right there. We also have the ability to do a group selfie, so it crops things out slightly so you can easily fit more people into the frame. And then we can take standard selfies too. So definitely a lot of different camera abilities with both of these devices. However, with the A72, this is the only phone of the two that actually does feature a telephoto camera. Now, both of these phones do support 4K video recording with the front and rear cameras, which is definitely very nice. Now, as far as RAM and processors go with these phones, they are offered in different amounts of RAM. So for example, for both of these phones, you can get them in either 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM. It really depends on the region that you're in though, by what's offered. But each of these phones only has one processor available, and they are different, of course. So with the Galaxy A73 5G, we have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 778G 5G. So with that processor, we do get 5G compatibility, of course. And then with the Galaxy A72, we have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 720G. Now I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 5, so I'll show you the scores that I got from both of these devices. But essentially, with the Galaxy A73 5G, I got a single core score of 776, compared to a single core score of 543 with the Galaxy A72. And then you can see for the multi-core scores, they're quite different as well, with 2906 compared to 1643. So without a doubt, you're getting much more power and performance with the Galaxy A73 5G than you are compared to the Galaxy A72. And of course, in addition to that, we also get 5G connectivity. So in general, this phone is going to be a much faster, more reliable device compared to its predecessor. Now the battery capacity is identical with these two devices at 5,000 milliamp hours, so you'll definitely have no problem getting a full day, if not 2, out of these phones. And they both feature charging at up to 25 watts. So you can very quickly recharge those batteries, which is definitely a good thing since they are very large batteries. Now the software with these devices is essentially identical. The Galaxy A72 has already been updated from Android 11 to Android 12. So both of these phones are running Android 12 with Samsung's One UI 4.1. So that's definitely awesome. And if you've used any Samsung device within the last several years, then you should be very familiar with the software experience that you're getting here. Now, both of these phones also support NFC, which is excellent. NFC is the technology that is necessary for mobile contactless payments using tap and pay. So that's definitely a feature that I use all the time with any device that I'm using that actually supports it. And with these phones, they both have IP67 dust and water resistance ratings, which means they can go underwater for up to 1 meter for up to 30 minutes. But now that we've gone over a variety of different specifications and features of these devices, let's now take a closer look at the hardware. Now both phones are made completely out of plastic, besides the displays, which are made out of glass. And in addition to that, there haven't really been too many major design changes, just some small changes. Now I know that a lot of people like to see major redesigns from one generation to the next, which I definitely understand. That does make things a lot more exciting. But at the same time, I feel like Samsung did have a pretty good design in general with the A72, so they really just made things even better with the A73 5G. This material, for example, on the back of both devices is great because even though it's made out of plastic, it doesn't pick up any fingerprints at all because it's a matte finish. So I'm definitely a big fan of that. And you can see that in general, we have a slightly more squared off form factor with the A73 5G compared to the A72. Now taking a look at the left side of both devices, we have nothing. Then on the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and also the power buttons. Then up top here on both phones, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card, and then also the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of these two devices, we have microphones, the USB-C ports, speakers, and with the A72, we do have a 3.5mm headphone jack, whereas there is no headphone jack with the A73 5G. So not having a headphone jack with the A73 5G could be a deal breaker for some people. I'm definitely curious to know what you think. On the other hand though, I know a lot of people have switched over to using wireless Bluetooth headphones, and if you don't want to do that, then you can always get an adapter to plug into the USB-C port to use your traditional wired headphones. And then taking a look at the back of both devices, we have a very similar camera module. You can see with the camera module of the A73 5G, things are a little bit different compared to the A72. It's a little bit more squared off here, but at the same time, in general, they are very similar. And then beyond that, we just have Samsung branding, and that's pretty much it. So in general, I feel like the Galaxy A73 5G is a very good successor to the Galaxy A72. We get a lot of different features with this device, such as 5G connectivity, we have a faster processor, we also have an even better display here, and then smaller bezels as well. So in some ways, it's not an extreme redesign going from this generation to this generation, but Samsung took a product that already was really good and really popular and made it even better. But most importantly, I'm curious to know what you think. Are you a fan of the Galaxy A73 5G? Or do you think they should have done more with this device to further differentiate it from its predecessor? Definitely let me know in the comment section below, but this is Kevin here. This is Samsung Galaxy A73 5G versus Samsung Galaxy A72, and I will see you in the next one.